Hello there everyone, welcome back to the final one of these OP06 card reviews. In this long series, I'm going to be talking about all the miscellaneous previous bits of support. So, support for old decks, there's like 5 or 6 of them, plus support for the most recent starter deck in Zoro and Sanji, which you can check out my video for over on the channel. If you're interested in in-depth guides to Sakazuki, then you should check out my Patreon, where there will be an in-depth guide to who we all know is the GOAT, Sakazuki. Let's go ahead and get into it. Check out my Patreon, please. So, here we go. Inazuma. This is a very good card for Revolutionary Army. This is a 4/5. When this has 7k or more, it gains Banish, so it's just threatening. Yeah, card's pretty good. Another one of those nice options you can just toss into the Revolutionary Army deck. Then we got Ivankov. This is significantly better. This is a 5/6 on play. Look at the top 3 cards of your deck. Play up to 1 Revolutionary Army type character card with 5k or less power, and return the remaining cards to the bottom of the deck in any order. As you can imagine, this is an absolute staple of in every Revolutionary Army deck. Next, we have got some support for Slash, i.e. the Zoro Sanji deck. So this is a 3 drop here. On play, set up to 1 of your cost 4 or lower Slash trait characters active. Then for this turn, you cannot attack your opponent's leader. Now, if it didn't have that second line of text, this card might be pretty crazy. But as it does, it's pretty mid. Alright, next we have got 1/2 Jiro. On KO, rest up to 1 of your opponent's characters with a cost of 3 or less. If this was on play and on KO, this might have seen play, but as it isn't, it is pretty bad. Alright, here we got the Navy support. So we got Aramaki, this is an 8/8. Blocker, activate main once per turn, discard a card from your hand, and return 1 cost 2 or lower character to the bottom of its owner's deck. This character gains 3k power for the turn. So this is just really good. It hasn't actually seen much play in Japanese lists, but I mean, it's really hard to compete with Room against 8 cost Moria. Like, it's kind of really hard to do that. So I'm not really surprised that this hasn't seen much play in Japan. We'd need something like an 8-cost Moria ban, I think, for this card to enter contention. But it's really, really, really good. I think, like, you know, this is just generically powerful. It's an 11k swing. It's just Hound's Blaze, like, built in. Yeah, card really good. Card really good. Alright, then we got Gion. This is a 2k counter, 4/5. Your turn once per turn. When an opponent activates an event, your opponent places 1 card from their hand at the bottom of their deck. So this is basically a Whitebeard counter on a 2k counter, which is nice, but there's a better one coming up soon. Then we got Kuzan. This is a 3/5. On play, draw 2, and then bot deck 2. Fine. Filter card, I guess. Then we've got Sakazuki, 5/6. On play, place up to 1 character with a cost of 2 or less at the bottom of the owner's deck. I don't think this is good enough. If this was a bot deck a 3 or a 4, this might have seen play, but because it's only a 2, I just don't think it's really good enough. Okay, next we've got a 4/4 here. Charlotte Pudding. This card is broken. Your opponent returns all their hand cards to their deck, shuffles, and then your opponent draws 5. I don't see how this card isn't crazy. This has to be busted. It just has to be. It's revivable with Moria. It's just generically busted. Like, any blue deck can abuse this card. I just don't see how this can't be insane. That's all I'm saying. I think the card's nuts. Alright, next we got Zeph. So this is a bit of East Blue support. This is a 3/3, 1k counter. On your turn, when your opponent activates Blocker or an event, if your leader has the East Blue type, you may mill 4. Interesting. So obviously, this is synergizing very well with the 5-drop Zeph, and the idea is like, oh, you're going to swing massive with that to try and mill 7. Your opponent blocks the attack or counters through non-counter cards in their hand, and you're going to be able to mill 4 at least. But I don't think this is really going to see play in Nami, but it's a cool idea, and the artwork is great. But I don't think it's going to see play. Then we got a Vanilla 5/7. Then we got top 5 searcher for Navy, 4 of in Sakazuki, fucking obviously. Next we got Tsuru. This is a 5/4, 2k counter in Navy. On play, you may trash 2, bounce an opponent's character back to their hand. I think this is pretty good, actually. If you were going to play a blue 2k counter, this would be it. I just think you're not, because you're playing 8 2ks in Saka, and they're all black because you want to be able to get them back with Rebecca. Next, we have got Tokikake. This is a 2/3, 1k counter, Don 1. If you have 4 or less cards in your hand, this character cannot be KO'd in battle. This is terrible. Next, we've got Jaguar D Soul. This is a 2/3, 1k counter. On KO, place up to 1 character with a cost of 2 or less at the bottom of its owner's deck. If this wasn't on KO, this might be decent, but it is, and it's terrible. Next, we've got Borsalina. This is a 2/4. If you have 5 cards or less in hand, this character gains Blocker. This is also terrible. Next, we got Garb. This is a 5/7. Don 2 when attacking. If you have 4 or less cards in your hand, your opponent cannot activate Blocker during this battle. This is a cute card. Potentially, he's letting you secure a lethal if you get your opponent down to 0, right? Like, this is Luffy. But it's hand restricted, so you've got to be super late in the game. But, you know, that being said, your opponent's probably not going to be able to stop a 17k swing to face, so it could secure you the game. So maybe this is worth a cheeky one-off. If this was a 4-6, then I think potentially, because you could bring back Mario. But yeah, it's okay. Next we got Amano Murakumo. This is Lucci effect, but bot decking. 4 of. No, not 4 of. I mean, it's fighting through him with Hound's Blaze, and that's really the only issue with it. This card is nuts, like absolutely nuts. And so, you know, you're playing like 5 to 6 between Hound's Blaze and Murakumo, and it's your choice which way you want to go on it. Okay, and then we have got a blue-green Sanji Zoro deck support here. This is a 1-cost event. Up to 1 of your leaders or characters gains 1k for this turn. Then reveal the top card of your deck and put up to 1 cost 2 character into play and put the rest on the top or bottom of your deck. And the trigger plays up to 1 character at the cost of 2 or less from your hand. So actually, this is also usable in Nami. Speaking of Nami, this card... oh, no, this card, sorry, coming up. Gravity Blade or Raging Tiger. I wish this had an alt art. This is sick. It's kind of busted. So the trigger bot decks a 5, and the main bot decks 2 6s. This isn't seeing play at the moment, but like I just feel like it's one of those blue cards that is just always going to be in the back of your mind. Like, hey, if I ever need to deal with some big things, this card's going to absolutely let me deal with some big things. This card is nuts. Okay, this was the Nami support I mentioned. 2-drop, up to 1 of your leader or characters gains 1k during this turn, and then you draw a card. And then the trigger looks at the top 5 and lets you stack them at the top or bottom in any order. But this is, I think, really, really good because it's giving you that survivability for the turn. This is going to be like the first thing you use, and it's going to cycle you. So yeah, this is an absolute 4 of in Nami. Nami players rise up. Okay, next we've got some purple support here. This is a good RP lore card. This is a 4/5, 2k counter, Kamazo. Your turn once per turn. When you return a Don card on your field to your Don deck, K up to 1 of your opponent's characters with a cost of 2 or less. So sometimes this is just going to come up and you're just going to be able to deal with little guys. For example, into the red-green lore matchup. This card is pretty good. It's also 2k counter. It's a 4/5 2k counter. Alright, next, the second deck that got like a fat wave of the second wave of support is Sky Island. So this is a 1/0 2k counter. On play, look at 1 card from the top or of your opponent's life cards or your life cards and place it at the top or bottom of their life cards. So this is basically a Katakuri effect on a 2k counter. I think this is pretty bad, but it is a searchable 2k counter. Then we've got Kamakiri. This is a 3/4 1k counter. Activate main once per turn. Place a 1-cost stage at the bottom of its owner's deck. KO up to 1 of your opponent's cost 2 or lower characters. And the trigger, if you have 2 or less life, you play this card. I think this is pretty bad, to be honest. But, you know, it is removal in yellow, and that is very hard to come by. Then we got a vanilla 3/5. Then we got 3/4, Braham, activate main once per turn, place a 1-cost stage at the bottom of its owner's deck, rest up to 1 of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less. And then the same trigger, again, I think this is pretty bad. For those of you who are wondering what stage you're going to be putting, I believe it's Upper Yard from set 5 is a top 5 searcher that's a stage. Next, we've got Rocky. This is a 1/1, 1k counter. If you have a Shandora warrior type character other than Rocky, this character gains a blocker. So as long as you have a board, this is a 1-drop blocker. This is pretty decent. Then we have got Wiper. This is a 5/7. On play, you may return a cost 1 stage to the bottom of its owner's deck. Look at the top 5 cards of your deck, reveal up to 1 Upper Yard or Shandora Warrior type card, and add it to your hand. Then return the remaining cards to the bottom of your deck in any order. I think this is okay. It's like an on-play top 5 searcher on a 5/7, but it doesn't have counter, and obviously you have to return a stage, so eh. Next, we've got You're the One Who Should Disappear. This is the yellow discard to gain 3k counter, and the trigger is if you have 0 life, heal 1. Use the Enel effect, so yeah, 4 of. Fuck. Next we got Impact, 4-drop event. KO 1 of your opponent's 5-cost or lower characters, or if your opponent has 1 life, deal 1 damage to them, then add the top card of your life to your hand, and the trigger draws a card. This is very good. This is actual removal in yellow that is not outrageous. You're not trashing life for. This actually is going to let you answer cards like Sabo, for example. So, yep, this is very good. You want to play this card. Next, we've got Arc Maxim. This is another 1-cost stage that you could be targeting. So you may rest a stage and 1 of your Enel, KO all of your opponent's characters with a cost of 2 or less. This is very, very funny in Black Yellow Big Mum, where you play down a 10-cost Kuzan and then, like, board wipe every turn. And then we have the secret rares. So here we've got Roronoa Zoro. This is a 9/9. When attacking, pay 1, set as active, and then activate main once per turn, pay 2, set this character as active. So what you need to know about this card is if it ever actually lands, like it doesn't immediately get nuked on the next turn, and you don't immediately die on the next turn, you can't lose. There is physically no way to lose with 3 9k attacks or 3 Don on the next turn. It's just not happening. You have 7 Don to do other stuff with. This is a, you know, card where if it actually sticks, it hangs around and your opponent doesn't immediately deal with it, you win the game. So yeah, The downside, of course, is if you're ever in a meta where the opponent can deal with it, then you're kind of fucked. So, yeah. And then we've got Sanji. This is another absolutely busted card, 9/9. Play the top card of your deck, basically, as long as it's not Sanji. This is nuts. Absolutely nuts. And this card is going to get significantly better as we move forward into the future. So just bear in mind, like, this card basically exists. And it's pretty fucking good. But there we go. That is all of the miscellaneous support. So what can I say? The blue cards are pretty good. But the main one, only really Tashigi is the one that matters. You get another top 5 searcher. The rest of the deck is still black. Sakazuki's S tier, of course. The Enel support is really, really good. In particular, the 0-drop, like it's giving it, but also the 4-drop event, both insane. And then there's lots of little miscellaneous pieces that are really, really good here. The secret rares are both nuts. They're going to be good for a long time, I think. And probably just meta dependent which one you play. But there we go. That is it for this video. And that is it for my coverage of set 6 in terms of card reviews. Next, you're going to be getting deck profiles and all that sort of really good stuff. So please do stick around, like the video, subscribe to the channel for all that sort of stuff. Check out my Patreon. I have in-depth guides to lots of the decks that we've discussed over the last few videos over there that might be very, very useful for you. So I do hope you enjoy this video and those videos over on Patreon. Like if you did, subscribe to the channel for more One Piece card game content, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Cheers.